Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I have a show for you today that is going to be very inspirational. I have a young lady with me who started this business at 19. As we all know, this is a male-dominated business, and she jumped in feet first. 3 years in now, full-time in the business, runs a company called Home Resurrections, and is doing some big things. So let's welcome Alicia Merriman to the show. How are you doing this morning, Alicia?
I am doing great. Thank you, Michael. That was a very kind opening.
You are doing amazing things. So let's just real quick introduce yourself, where you are in the country, what you do in the business, what is Home Resurrections, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I started my company back in 2016, and I was predominantly a flipper. It's just recently that I have decided that getting uncomfortable would actually take me further and find that growth with some buy and holds. But we started as one-time flippers. We were just going to flip one single property, and if I liked it, then obviously we would continue doing it, which afterwards I became a dabbler. But we are located in Huntsville, Alabama. I don't know have you ever made it out this way?
No, but I'm going to try to come this year. I'm
Nice.
going to
Yeah.
check out that market.
Yes, it is good. It's a really good market. A lot of new industry coming here. I am currently 29 years old. And like I said, I've been full-time rehabbing and just now really starting to branch off into those other departments of real estate, new methods. But it wasn't until actually August that I got to know any other investors in my area. And that's really whenever the true blossoming happened. And it was quite a lonely business prior to that. I didn't know anybody. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's you. So there's
yeah.
there's there's so many gems that experienced real estate investors drop, and one of them you just did right there.
Mhm.
This is a people business, right?
Yeah.
You certainly can get lost in spreadsheets, lost in looking online, lost in your projects, right? Going to Home Depot or Lowe's or where your vendor of
Living
choice.
there, staying there.
Yeah. And when you do that, you don't you don't give your opportunities to grow, right?
Right.
You're kind of serially, like it's A and then B and then C and then D. But when you do take the time to network, go to local meetups,
Mhm.
shoot, use social media, um,
Yes.
you actually get a chance to try to get that hyper scale. So what happened in August that allowed you to sort of see this other way?
Well, I was speaking with my brother, and his name is Chris Merriman. He owns Fortune 500 homes, and I'm sure at some point we will actually partner. But he's going to be a powerhouse in the industry himself, so I'm kind of excited to see that come and really blow up. But he told me, "Hey, maybe we should start talking to this guy named John Morey. John is buying houses left and right. He's constantly posting on Facebook." And I said, "Okay, well, there's definitely some information I could have some questions answered. So I'll reach out to this guy." And I just sent him a Facebook message, and he didn't actually really respond to my message. He sent me back a link to his mixer, which is a RIA in our local area. And it was just like the invitation. And I said, okay, so I guess I'll do this. And I went, and it was the best first meeting I could ever go to. It was a problem that a lot of independent real estate individuals, investors have, and it was on the topic of private lending and money. And I mean, whenever at that point, I had actually already gotten to where I was stacking multiple properties, but it was hard. You were constantly calculating how far out, funds would take you because everything was being done out of our own pockets. And I would say in a lot of cases, putting offers on houses, we had analysis paralysis because, you can't make that mistake and still can't make that mistake, but it just was extremely scary if you didn't know your numbers correctly. And his invitation just, I realized how much of an amateur I really was.
uh,
I met all these individuals who, in his eyes, all these people were amateurs. And I'm like, oh, wow, whole new world to this. And I guess because I had been, like you said, going from point A to point B. In flipping, I never really entertained the idea of all these other creative financing methods, things such as sandwich lease options and corporate housing and, everything else that is out there. And so all of a sudden, I knew I had a long learning curve ahead of me. And it was actually where I met you back in January. Yep. At the Investors Success Conference with Jim Ingersoll, that I decided, okay, it's no longer is it time to just learn and listen. It's time to start taking action. And I've been really going gung-ho that direction since then. So
yeah, that's awesome. Again, you just give so many great things. I'm curious, is Chris your brother, is he older or younger than you?
He is younger than me.
Yeah. you got to beat up on that younger brother.
I give him a hard time when really I know that for his age he's dominating, and I'm like, you got to step up your game.
There you go. Yeah, push him.
He is a super sharp guy. He's going to be a I hope now he's early, but as he blossoms, I hope we're partners.
There you go. Just right in his coattails. That's awesome.
Yes,
so lots of ways we could go here. Why don't we first start with that first flip? It's always fun to unpack that first one, right? You want to sort of lay out, let's start with how you found it and you bought it, and then we'll get into the rehab part. So how'd you find this first one?
Okay. Well, at the time, I started college really early. I was CLEPing college courses, and I had a nursing scholarship whenever I was 16. Oh, well, wow. Whenever I was 18, I actually said, okay, I'm tired of this drive. It was an hour from my parents to the college that I had to attend. And I told my parents, hey, I'm going to find an extra garage that I can rent from somebody, or a mother-in-law suite. Like, there has to be some kind of balance where I can kill time between college and work. Well, I was 18, about to be 19, and I was just flipping through like not a national, but just like a little, not a national brand, but a local magazine that offered just properties for sale, a lot of realtors in there, kind of a multi-in-one. And I found this property, and it was a dump. And I was like, oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, the fact that the number is what really drew me to it. It said $19,900. And I said, well, that might be doable. So I actually, after work, I drove by the property. I looked at it. There was a sign. The realtor sign had long come off the tree it was posted to. No one was interested in this property. It was bad. The wiring was exposed. The floor was caving in. There were holes in the walls that needed a new roof. There was like mold and moss growing all over the roof. Yeah, it was built in 1947.
Okay.
And it had not really been updated since. So needed a lot of work.
Yeah,
and
love and attention, yes.
Yeah, for sure. That property became my gym, and really what resonated with me was back in the day, my parents used to listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey and real estate, gurus, and location. Yeah. So this one was the original homestead in $1 million area. And that meant a lot to me. That meant a whole lot to me. And so I knew that this little 1,000 square foot rinky-dink house was not a comparable to these, but it was surrounded by them, and that had to account for something.
Sure.
And which it did. So that is the house that I actually made my first purchase. Nice. And the renovation was pretty intense. That took a long time.
Well, one thing I'm curious about, and maybe you paid asking, I have no idea, but given it's listed at $19,900, getting no love and attention, for sale signs gone, did you pay list price or did you offer less?
Oh no, I paid list. I was happy to pay list.
Okay.
I actually got the realtor. I spoke to her and I said, look, I have no money. I borrowed $5 for gas yesterday. And I was so honest with her. And I'm sure she thought, well, this probably isn't going to fly. But I did. I told her, and I said, I had actually done some research about creative financing through owners holding the balloon note or seller financing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I had done my Google research, and the way that I actually knew of that previously, my parents had I was really young, but a mild background in real estate. I was so young that I couldn't recall a lot of that, but I did know it existed, at least. And so I asked her if the owner of the property would actually be willing to carry the note for 1 year
Okay.
and let it balloon at the end of that year. So I was pretty much buying time. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, I wanted to make that minimum payment and figure it out in the end. And that year I was actually able to pay for the property. And how I did that was how I actually paid for it. At
Yeah.
the very end, I was like 1 month before this balloon became due, and I still owed her quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I think the balance was like still 14,000.
Okay.
I went to a local bank. Actually, I went to lots of local banks, being a child with no credit, and at this point I had a small down payment to give them. And I went to one of our actual local banks, not a big name
Mm-hmm.
international bank. And they were willing to give me a construction loan that, when the property was finished, could roll over into conventional mortgage.
Perfect.
I never got to that phase. I got the construction loan, paid off the owner, and I was making my payment on a construction loan, and I eventually just paid that off early.
Okay.
And so it actually never got to the point where it blossomed into a conventional mortgage.
Wow. So again, lots of little nuggets there. One of the things I coach new investors on or advise them on is don't go to big banks, right? If you're just starting out, you're in that kind of situation. I love the fact that I borrowed $5 for gas yesterday. I thought that was awesome.
That lady, she had to be like,
oh my God. Come on now, sweetheart. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So yeah, go to local banks. They're far more likely to listen. They believe in relationships, frankly.
Yeah.
And they look at you and they're like, okay, you may be in the business for 40 years. So I may want to take a bet on you. The other thing I asked about price, you bought terms. So yeah, anytime you buy terms, give them whatever number they want, right? You were buying time. I thought that was a great way to look at it.
I didn't want to argue with her
no,
on that.
Yeah. I
mean, if she was willing to actually do that for me, that meant more to me than actually trying to negotiate down that price. And the bank really, I don't even think that they looked at the house as any value. They might have actually given me a negative value. This dump fees for this property,
Yeah, it might have been the land.
Yeah, it was the land. So it came on 1 acre, and the acre was amongst that $1 million neighborhood. And it was outside the HOA, and it had 2 legal easements on both sides. And so now you have 2 roadways, which could make 2 parcels. And that's something I didn't actually realize until I owned the property for a little bit. And then I was like, oh, there's opportunity here. But I think the bank seen that early on, and that was why they were willing to give me the remainder of her balloon, which got her out of the picture, to pay off her balloon note of $14,000.
So it seems like this was a long flip, right? You bought it, you refied her out after 11 months, it sounds like. How long did this take?
So I started college at 16. At
16.
Yeah, I know. I was the youngest kid in there. I raised my hand to go to the bathroom the first week or two. And the professor's like, you're paying me to be here.
Get out. Yeah, go.
So new concept. But I started college 16. I started looking for any kind of rental property that I could actually stay at. Found this one, 18, about to be 19 years old. And it sat empty until 2014.
Okay.
Married in 2014. And I had long since actually paid off those debts. And so it sat there. It just sat there.
So no work. Yeah, so no work, no nothing, right? You owned it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very
good. I wouldn't say that I was the most responsible. I didn't have insurance on it. I just let it sit. I was super poor, right? So I just let it go. And I did pay the property tax, and that was about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you raise a hammer or start work on it then?
Okay. So 2014, I got married, and I said, okay, it's time for us to start doing our own thing.
Yeah.
He was bartending. I had been waitressing in the past. My husband, that's who he is.
Yeah.
And so we got married, and I said, let's start this Coleman project. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. I have the property. I know it's a seller's market now,
Yeah.
you know, so HGTV is at its fever pitch. And so I am dreaming about doing this after, you know, the Flip or Flop and Chip and Joanna games. You know, I was like, I can do it. I already have one.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So 2014, we said, let's start. And then I realized I was so far from actually being able to start. And I realized that by bringing in some appraisers, I had the house appraised, and I'm selling these people on a dream. I'm like walking them through and telling them this is going to be hand scraped hardwood floor and granite over here, you know, and they're just looking at me like crazy. No way. No way. And, but I said, okay, best case scenario, per square foot, what can I get for this property? It was only 1,000 square feet then.
Mm-hmm.
They said best case scenario, given this area, $140 a square foot.
Oh, okay.
Which is fabulous. It was amazing, especially for North Alabama. That is phenomenal. If you're over that 115 per square foot, you've done good. For a resale, you know, it's done really. So that became the number.
Okay.
And the next part was to actually bring in general contractors or home builders and get quotes. So I did that. I got 3, and the lowest one came back at $53,000. And so this became like the meal ticket number. How can we come up with an extra $53,000?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in 2014. And we created a 2-year plan of how to earn an extra $53,000. And it was going to take 2 years, unfortunately, for us to actually have the cash to do that. And because we didn't want to be house poor, we didn't want to dump everything into this and get in over our heads. So we did take that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we embarked on the project and actually got started the end of 2015. And it was 2016 whenever we finished and put on the market and everything. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So again, lots of lessons, right? So 2006 or 15, 16. So you're probably 25, 26 at the time, right? Meeting all these big burly general contractors. They're probably looking at you like, what the, you know, it's different, right?
Yes. Yeah. So obviously I was an amateur. I did not know the going rate for the different trades. And I definitely got taken advantage of. You know, they could see that I was a female, that I had no knowledge of the business. And
very green.
Yeah. And so I thought that doing the DIY professional way, instead of hiring one of these big contracting companies to come in and do it, was how I was going to save the money. Well, I did save money, but I didn't save time.
Yes.
But the difference was I did get everything I wanted, but if I had to go back and do it again, I would have outsourced a lot more. So I think the first project, everyone kind of learns that. They learn that being so hands-on is not how you get the cash flow from stacking properties. But
Yeah, the income for sure. That's very cool. So all right. And then, so the total project, once you sort of plunked down the first 25% deposit or whatever, that was like a 6-month project to sort of take it from this horrible state to let's put it on the MLS?
Well, actually the renovations only took a few months once we started.
Okay.
I quit my job. My husband's job was, he went down to part-time actually. And his job was to continue paying our bills, right?
Okay.
And so I was at this job site. It was also an hour away from where we had moved to after we, you know, got married. I moved in with him. And so I was commuting every day. And if a relationship has never made it through rehabs or construction, that is a rough marital strain, the first right at the beginning of a marriage, you know. But yes. his job was to actually continue working, and I was on site every day, so it
Yeah.
finished a lot faster. But I
Okay.
never hired one of these main large contractors to come in. The guys who gave me the quotes
Hmm.
originally, I didn't hire any of them. For every trade, be it like a plumber, electrician, framer, drywall, I would bring in 3 guys, get quotes, and then find references
Yeah.
and go from there, find the best character that I could.
Sure.
And that's who I chose to go with. Now, I do think, and I told the same example to Tim Knox the other day, but one plumber, I realized I was getting taken advantage of whenever one plumber came through, and he told me, he said, I told him the job, he quoted it there, and it was $6,300 for this plumbing quote. And I was just floored. And the fact was not that I thought that he was lying to me or that his quote was off. The fact was I didn't have the money. And so, I acted completely shocked because I was like, how am I going to pay for this? And I mean, 10, 15 seconds passed and he responded by saying, oh, okay, we'll do it for like $2,200. And that was the true price. So
Huh.
he marked it up 3 times or 2 times trying to get.
Yeah. Yeah. He saw a piece of meat and he went after it.
Yes, yeah, he's seen, he cased me. So whenever he actually got to the property, he's seen this $1 million neighborhood. He's seen a decent looking car that I drove,
Yeah.
and he's seen this a young individual, a young female who knew nothing about the industry. And so he just thought, well, we'll just see if she bites. Well, he thought that I was upset about the number. I was upset that I didn't have the money for his number. And all of a sudden I realized I'm not going to make it through this project if I continue to let these guys come in. So that was
Yeah.
only plumbing, that's the beginning of the job. And I just thought I'm not going to make it if I don't figure something out. So I just started reverse engineering the process. And I did that by studying YouTube and other sources online.
Mm-hmm.
Out like the handyman's pricing guide, those kind of things, figuring out what going rate was.
Yeah.
And I would actually take that number and I would just put it out there. So start talking to people, or Craigslist. I'd make an ad saying, if you can't do X
Yeah.
for this amount, then don't even contact me. But if you need work and you're reliable, you're not on drugs, you have your own transportation, give me a call. Right.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I had a fail-proof way to hit my budget.
Nice.
And depending on the guys, some of them I would still let them quote the job, but majority of that actual project, until I got super familiar with it, I had to give them the number.
Nice.
So that was very helpful.
Very, very. And I'm curious, did you stay under the 53 number when it was all said and done?
No, I did not. So I did make a lot of amateur mistakes, and the 53, we went over by like 12 to 15,000.
Okay.
And we didn't have it. So we charged it to credit cards.
Sure.
As scary as that sounds, and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
So now we have these high credit card balances, and the house, let's just say the house is ready. I'm terrified that who knows how long this house is going to sit on the market before it actually sells, and how much interest am I going to build up on these accounts,
Yeah.
But that is the route. I mean, we just had to do.
Yeah, you didn't have a choice. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice. We had to finish. At this point, we had our life savings dumped into this property. And initially, whenever we found out how much money the property was going to take, our plan to come up with those funds were, we kept our income tax for 2 years, our 2-year plan for saving money.
Yeah.
And we didn't make beer runs anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't go out to eat at restaurants. And my husband allowed me to actually liquidate his 401k, which wasn't very big, but it was a help.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And something that might be frowned upon, but we've got a poodle and a golden doodle, and we bred a couple litters, which very responsible about it. They lived in our house, but and I keep up with all my babies now, but
you did what you had to do, right? That's the key. Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't make that extra funds when the time came near, because we did this renovation in just a matter of months. Yeah. And imagine spending that amount of money in just months. You're talking thousands going out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And terrifying, quite
Yeah.
terrifying.
It should be, frankly, right? It took you 2 years, some very creative ways to raise the raising the 53 grand took a while. And then you get
Yes.
into a job and it's like whack, whack, whack,
Yeah.
whack. Where'd it go?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So let's close out the story. You put it on the MLS, it sells. Yeah, how'd that feel?
It felt fabulous. Now, we actually didn't list with a realtor.
Okay.
I had the same appraisal company come back, and they were floored. They were floored. They could not even believe that I had pulled this off. I couldn't believe I pulled it off. But they reevaluated the property, and the original number that they had given me 2 years earlier
Yeah.
was 140, maximum value 140 square foot.
Yep.
And we actually did a bump out add-on. So the house ended up being 1,307 square feet.
Okay.
And they came back at 144 a square foot.
Oh.
And so that put us right around that 170, 180 marker. Now we purchased the house, to recap, for around 20,000.
Yep.
And we ended up we went over the 53,000. So let's just say like 60, 65 in.
Yeah.
So we were all in for like 85,000. And we sold that puppy for 172.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. So it was a good first flip.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, and again, all that money showed up, right? Because it was yours. You didn't have partners. You didn't have anybody else. That had to be a good day.
It was we had Mexican food and margaritas. Yeah, it was great.
But, good for you.
It was a good day, but be it a lot of money, had I not made as much as I had, not only would I have probably not done it again, but I wouldn't have been able to get to a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Make that much profit.
Yeah.
Initially. So the first one, I'm very grateful that we had a very successful first project.
Yeah.
But didn't end up listing with a realtor. It sat on the market for 36 days. It was cute as a button. We did fully stage it, and how we did that, we pulled furniture from everyone's house that we knew. Mom, Dad, everybody kind of contributed to
that's awesome.
this little house. And so yeah, it sold in 36 days, for sale by owner. And we actually had for sale by owner signs made, but they were very professional looking. And we had 42 showings.
Wow.
In those 36 days. So I knew it was going to go. We had a few multiple showings, and I was super proud. Oh, I was so proud.
You should be.
But it was terrifying when listing, and I had made a deal with myself that if I can't sell this house in 30 days, I'm going to find that realtor. But at the 30-day marker, I had so many people coming back for second and third viewings. I said, okay, this thing's going to sell. And it did. It did in about a week after that promise I had made to myself. So maybe for first-time flippers, do the same. Yeah. Give yourself that 30-day leeway as for sale by owner. You could save 6%. Yeah. But if you are trying to do multiple properties, maybe get it listed, because time is money at that point.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned a couple of things that I've been taking notes the whole time. When you see me look away, it's because I'm taking notes. You've mentioned snowballing and stacking a couple of different times. Why don't you just kind of introduce for folks who maybe don't know those terms, what that is and what you mean by it?
Okay. Well, that is actually having the ability, and at this time it was hard for me after the first property, but having the ability to do multiple properties at one time, which now you have to take in consideration. For us, it was financially, we had to have two separate funding methods, one for the business and one for how long could we live on X amount over the duration of these projects. And you also have to take in consideration, you need two sets of contractors, there's a lot of moving parts. You can't have the plumber over here and expect him to be doing that house as well. So getting to know a lot of individuals. And one way to do that is by visiting your local supply houses. Find out who's in there all the time. Find out, who do they recommend? These guys, they see the professionals day in and day out. And so I was the only chick walking into a supply house, so they all remembered me, right? they actually would, they'd be like, that girl needs you. And so I got the greatest support from actually supply houses and local contractors. Word spread quickly. And it gave me the ability to start stacking properties, doing more than one at a time. But between the first project and the second project, I was a dabbler. It was it cost me so much money. It was a lot of time. The payout was slow, getting to that closing table and cashing that check was slow. And it caused marital strain, because I was so unfamiliar. I was bringing this stress home. And so I didn't know if I wanted to just stack that away in the bank or do it again. And I did start a few other small companies, and these little one-man companies, they didn't yield but like 10 grand a year each, but you get 4 of those and it equated to something,
Yeah.
And then I decided, okay, we're gonna get back in and do this hard. And so we started stacking. We started the snowball effect where they were rolling over to each other.
Yeah, very cool.
At the time, I didn't know how to find those deals for actually, like the purchase. I was getting good purchase price, but I was doing it mostly through foreclosure and MLS.
Yep.
And now I have actually figured out how to find those pocket deals. And so buying right.
Yep.
I've realized that buying right goes a long way. So let's compare it to a basketball game. If you see one team get, down 20 points in the first quarter, it's hard for them to come back from that, right?
Yeah.
And so buy right in the beginning, and it's going to take you further. And learned that.
Very cool. So we're into what, 2017 when you go from dabbler to stacking or snowballing?
No, it's still in 2016. I've just let a few months pass. Yeah.
Got it. So how many projects did you complete then?
Currently, we have done 13 of our own.
Wow.
Now we've done some clients. We've had clients in between. My brother has actually been a partner for me on a lot of those. And we actually don't have a legal partnership, but it's a sibling partnership. So.
It's called mom and dad. That's called.
He's stuck with me. But yeah, we have done a lot of projects together and a lot of in between. So I actually had a filler method where whenever a project got the day we would market, I would pick clients. And these clients were individuals who had actually seen my work in the past, came to multiple open houses.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you do this to our house, And so how that helped me was at the time being self-funded. I didn't have to pay for the property. They owned it or they were buying it. Yeah. I didn't have to pay for the repairs. They were paying for them.
Got it.
I just had to kind of bring in my contractors. They did their thing. I executed the design. That's kind of where I've really flourished a lot is in designing. But I actually picked up and it's almost a little embarrassing to say, but a lot of the media, I don't know who came up with this, but they started calling me the Chip and Joanna of North Alabama.
There you go. That's awesome.
I know. I was like proud in one way and then like, I don't know.
Oh no, you should definitely be proud.
Embrace that.
Oh, just embrace it. Just own it. Just get a t-shirt.
Yeah, right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
hey, they're not a bad brand. So go for it.
So I'd love to meet them. I probably will soon. I would love to get down to Waco and meet them.
Check them out. Yeah, Waco, that'd be cool. So I'm curious. I haven't asked this question before, but you brought up design a couple of times. Is there are like kitchens your thing or master bedrooms, or like when somebody looks at your stuff, they go, that's yours. What is it?
A lot of people can. So the people in our area who have seen my projects before, they will actually pick them out off the MLS and send me a picture and be like, is this your house? I'm like, oh, how do you know?
Yeah.
But yes, I have I like to incorporate a lot of antiques permanently as permanent fixtures in the property, be it like old bookcases or my kitchen islands.
Yeah.
We did one kitchen island in a local city for some clients, and the legs and everything was an old piano legs, an antique. Yeah. So we will take old tables, and I'm talking like 1860s. I really like that error, and incorporate those into the physical structure. So all the old with the brand new lines and colors, that's one thing. I'm notorious on our full scale flips. Some of them are mild, but majority of our full scale flips, I'll actually vault the ceilings.
Okay.
So we'll take it up minimum 10 feet. We're looking for those 5-6 pitch roofs that we can't do that on and above, you know. But yeah, I definitely have some signature things. I majority of the people locally, they know whenever it's my flip.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good because, you know, again, I've done a lot of these interviews and nobody, and maybe I missed it. Actually, there was one, Aaron and Cletus, they do it as well. But yeah, when you have a style and you get a brand your own, like your design, as we're saying it, that's value.
It is. It's value.
Yeah, because you have a following and people will just, again, this again is a business that you could do for 50 years. It's not like basketball, to use your analogy, where like you have a 6-year career, right? You can do this for 50 years.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
I'm fortunate that all my clients, you know, so if I actually did their project, now we've gotten into the point, I'm not taking on any new clients, by the way. But we're just too busy on our own jobs that we would neglect those if we took on clients anymore. But yeah, we had like some of them, we actually did an escrow, a holding, where they would have to deposit like 20,000 to get in on our schedule. You know, obviously that wouldn't come to me. It would just get towards the project, but I knew they were serious, and it would allow me to set up my time frame. But yeah, just booking me for design, it was a minimum of $4,000.
Nice.
And so my design, it did sell. You know, that became part of my signature, and I'm very fortunate for that. You know,
good for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we did an appraisal on not the last property, but 3 properties before that. We would actually get an appraisal prior to staging.
Okay.
And then stage the property, and then get another appraisal. And across those 3 properties, we had an average of an 8% increase on the appraisal value for the home. And so creating that flow and bringing just decorations in, you know, a few $1,000s. Most of our houses we could stage for $3,000 or $4,000 for a standard like 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And if that brings back an 8% increase, let's just say the house is worth $100,000, keep it simple, an $8,000 return. Like, that's a no-brainer. And you create sellability whenever they are doing their walkthroughs. It's fabulous for the photographs. So my advice is, if you have a property you're trying to sell, at least stage the public areas. So dining, living, kitchen, those main areas, bathrooms. And if you want to, leave the bedrooms blank.
Everybody gets a bedroom, right? A bed there, closet over there.
So those returns are there.
That's awesome. It's a great addition. So I'm curious about this one. You've got so much going on. You have so much ahead of you. Have you even thought about what you're doing in 3 to 5 years, what you want to be doing?
Yes.
All right.
I have. I'm planning further out. So I do realize that I've kind of embarked at a time where it's a seller's market. You know, I'm kind of in this golden era, and I've met enough individuals who lived through the bad, where I'm trying to grow from their wisdom, and they see nationally that the economic downturn is coming. You know, it's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe 6-7 years. But the fact is, I'm not prepared. I'm a flipper. You do it once, you get paid once. That's okay. And so I have to figure out a way to create long-term wealth. And one way is, you know, this was the idea here. I have to figure out how to get cash flow. And so that's currently where my mind is going, to actually get creative. So doing things, taking over mortgages through land trust contracts, sandwich lease options, whatever the case may be, subject to. So that's one direction, as well as corporate housing, quite recession proof, because those corporations are actually fitting the bill for those kind of things. And Airbnb, we've gotten our first property actually for that.
Nice.
we opened that thing up. I don't know if it's just Huntsville or maybe my pictures were great. I don't know. We had it open for 48 hours and it was fully booked for 2 months. It floored me. I was like, we're going to get some more of these.
Yeah. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Again, yeah. And we've actually had the pleasure of doing 4 deals in the past 30 days. So I'm very grateful for that. Very grateful. I'm hoping to do around 40 to 52 deals this year. So that's a whole new ballpark. And
so just so we're clear on what a deal is that in the 40 or the 52 is a buy one deal, or is a deal the buy and the sell?
It is definitely just the buy.
Okay.
In my case. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're looking to buy, let's just use the 40 number because it's round. So you're looking to buy 40 this year. Is that 40 keeps, or is that?
Probably not. Probably not 40 keeps. We're going to do some wholesaling as well. Okay. I did my first wholesale deal this past week.
Wow.
I was thrilled. My very first wholesale, and I know this is an inflated number, but I got 20,000 for this very first.
And you owned it for like 3 days or something? You had the contract?
Not long. And so we actually, it's ideal for a flip. And I feel like I have a very good eye for the numbers, what the property can be. So I actually, whenever I put it out there, and I didn't put out to too many people, and I got multiple offers on it, all of them at the same. So I actually ended up moving it along to some friends who are real estate investors themselves. Nice. And they're going to flip it. And but yeah, it's a fabulous property for flipping.
Yeah, but again, you're adding more tools to your tool belt, right? Yes. So when you evaluate an opportunity, you can go, hey, I could flip this in 4 months, 100 days, whatever, and make X, or I can wholesale it today for Y.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, I have 3 other jobs already stacked, so I really can't fit this one. Seems like an easy answer, right?
It is an easy answer. And I'm trying to do fewer flips this year.
Okay.
And if I do, I'm actually going to learn how to do those through my IRA to build multi-generational wealth, right?
There you go.
And so that's kind of the goal. I've got my IRA being set up currently, and I'm going to start doing the flips strictly within the IRA, maybe 3 or 4 flips this year.
Okay.
And then for my EAT money, I'm actually going to do wholesaling. And then for the inactive, we're going to call that passive. It's not passive.
Yeah.
There's nothing passive about, interviewing and maintenance and evictions. And
there ain't nothing passive about that.
Yes. I even think Donald Trump would agree with that. It's not passive.
Not passive.
But inactive. Paid more than one time.
Yep.
And I plan on doing that through a lot of creative holding methods.
Yeah. And then the other thing, you probably see it, but just for the audience, that, when you're basically going to be building inventory now.
Yeah.
And then if the economy rolls over and you get good at this creative, what will happen is the economy, when it does roll over, it rolls over relatively quickly. Meaning if this bull run's been 10 years, it'll roll over in 2, but you'll be able to build 50 or 60 pieces of inventory in the downtime, so that when we come out of this again, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to sell that one. I'm going to sell that one. I'm going to sell that one.
Yeah.
And,
so I actually have a plan for that as well. The idea is to take some of these wholesale, the profit from that, because that downturn is coming, which is going to be not a seller's market, but a buyer's market, right? And so behind the scenes, it's packing away that, whatever, $1 million, $2 million. And in due time, when that comes, that is potentially 20 properties. So who's to say that when that time comes and I pick up 20 of those properties, that I can't take my brand or a new brand I create as a business and sell the entire business? So now I just the entire portfolio. Well, how many times can I rinse and repeat that? Right?
Amen. I like it.
And the idea of, you mentioned earlier, long-term.
Yeah.
Long-term, I think real estate is one of the hardest markets to be in, because you're playing with the American dream, right?
Right. Yep.
Your tool is actually something most people only purchase one time in their entire lives. And so if I can learn how to master real estate, I think every other small business opportunity is going to be a breeze, right? So once you kind of figure out the hardest market, the largest purchase most people ever make, every other type of business should be a rinse and repeat. And so I think that this is a great starting point, but I think I'm going to be a professional at creating small businesses and selling those, cash flowing. And where after that, long term, let's just say, I might have some gray hair by then. I hope that I am a life coach. I hope that in my lifetime, if I actually got to the point where, you know, anything huge, I would love to feed 1 billion people, you know. Wow. I have some big personal dreams that are not going to be achieved easily.
Very cool.
It's going to, a baby learns how to walk by falling a lot, and I'm going to have a lot of failures, and I'm trying to prepare myself today with the correct, you know, legal entities, attorneys, and everything, because this is going to get rocky. And yeah, long term, I definitely want to create multiple small businesses, rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
Have a portfolio myself that is cash flowing, as well as educate myself today to teach people long term, become some kind of life coach.
That's awesome. Well, it's at the end of the show now, and I always turn it over to the guest. You know, how can somebody follow you, connect with you, be a part of you and your brand and everything you have going on? It's pretty amazing. How can they reach out?
Well, we are currently in the process of still working on our website that's being revamped for all these buy and holds. But that will be homeresurrection.com. And Facebook is probably the easiest way. I'm not up with all these early 20s. They're like all over Snapchat and Musical.ly and, you know, Instagram. We are on Instagram /Home Resurrection. But the best place is probably Facebook. And my name is listed as Alicia Durbin on Facebook. I still go by Alicia Merriman. A lot of people know me as that. And that my Facebook business page is facebook.com /Home Resurrection. Now, as far as things that I am looking for, I am always looking to grow my network. So if you are a fellow investor and you think, hey, I've got some information this girl needs, or I would love to be a joint venture partner or anything like that, if you see opportunity, I mean, find me, talk to me. I am open. Hey, I am putting people on my calendar day in and day out. And as far as individuals locally, I think that with us getting into these buy and holds, we're still in the process of creating flow in the office. But the moment that that flow happens between me and my assistant, my public relations manager, we have 6 full-time employees, but we are going to be aggressively growing our employee base. And I will be seeking out those individuals very soon. And so that's kind of the goal. So I want to network with fellow investors, and not very far off from growing the business internally.
What city is your office in? Is it Huntsville or where is it?
Huntsville, Alabama. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep. So, you know, a couple of words in closing. First off, if you are interested in real estate investing and happen to be lucky enough to be in Huntsville, Alabama, you better check out Alicia. If you are, if you're, you know, I'll say young or inexperienced or whatever you want to call that, and you want to get your feet wet, the best way to do that is to spend a year or two with someone who's doing it, right? Don't go to YouTube University. If you're in Huntsville, Alabama, and you're hungry, go find her, right?
Find me.
Yeah, go do it and be a part of what she's got going on. And just so you know, as somebody who's been in business a long time, we all know that when you learn and you grow, you'll eventually peel off, but that's okay. We're all about our network. So don't think you're going to surprise us. Yeah. So at the end, also, if you're anybody watching this around the country, around the world, and you're interested in real estate investing, you have someone here in Alicia that's going to be doing this for a long time. She's talked about brand. She talked about design. She talks about things that, you know, us male egos don't think about, right? I've never thought about putting piano legs on a on account under a island. That's pretty awesome. So I want to thank you, Alicia. This has been so much fun. Thanks for talking to us on a Sunday.
Absolutely. And Michael, I appreciate the invitation. And I would suggest everybody, if you haven't gotten your copy, now's the time. Hey, change your life, right? One at a time.
There you
Find
go.
out how much your bills are and divide that by how many properties you need. Okay. So yeah, it's huge.
Thank you very much. That was very nice of you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.